Hello, everyone, and welcome to Second Wind's Firelink podcast, episode number 7 for Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. My name is Marty Sliva. As always, I'm joined by Nick Calandra, KC Nwosu, producer Eric on the Wheels of Steel, and our special guest tonight, Kahlief Adams of Spawn on Me and the upcoming Spawnies Awards show. Ka, it is so good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I got my Miss America wave going today.
It's incredible.
It's doing well.
He's running. He's running.
I have figured out how the hand motion goes. First of all, before we jump into it today, I have to give all of you a huge bunch of congratulations. I swear this has been the coolest launch of a new space, a new outfit that I have seen in a long time. I know Nick and I recommitsed in the back many times just to talk about like the way things are moving and all that kind of conversations. But it has been so inspirational to see how you all have been moving and how everything has been growing and all the cool work that you've been doing. It makes me reinvigorated to do this work and to see you all succeed. So thank you for taking that big leap of faith and knocking it out of the park. So it's super dope to see.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's been insane. It's only been 2 months. That's what's wild about it.
Yeah, it's dope. It's super dope. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're so gracious. You're too gracious, I'm going to say. Because honestly, this isn't about us. This is about you. Because aside from the incredible work you do week in and week out at Spawn on Me, you are hosting the Spawnies Award Show. What's the date? Monday the 30th? That's right?
We're doing it on February 29th, 6 p.m. PST. So it's almost a month away. From making all that happen. Yeah. I was like, we're gonna get the last bit of this Black History Month if anybody else does it.
Milk it for all it's worth.
Oh hell yeah!
You and Final Fantasy, the last words of the month.
Oh, I forgot Final Fantasy's on. Yo, see, Final Fantasy taking my shine. What's up with that? We got to talk to them. But
it's the second time for them.
yes, indeed, no doubt. Rebirth in a whole different way. There's a whole other conversation, but. Spawnies 3 is coming at the end of February, Black History Month. We've had a fantastic run so far. For folks who don't know what the Spawnies are, a couple years ago, there was a big conversation about, what is the video game space doing to talk to not only the conversation around diversity, but talking to, giving developers a space to be able to really talk about the work that they do. I think Spawn on Me as a show, which is now in its 10th year, that was the impetus and kind of foundation for what our show was trying to be, was a space where you could go talk to me, my former co-hosts, the folks who are in the audience, but really get a good nuanced take on the industry, get a nuanced take on games, get a nuanced take with developers talking to folks at home about what they do. Because at the end of the day, for me as a person who straddles a couple of those lines of, I don't like to say influencer because that's weird. As a person who makes content, as a content creator, a person in the kind of enthusiast press, and a person who works in the development space myself, it's a lot of those folks just don't get love, and the audiences that play these games don't really have a reverence anymore for the ridiculous amounts of work and time and effort that so many human beings take to make the things that we all love and enjoy. And I think about it as all of these wonderful, beautiful humans could be using their brains for something totally different, but they've tried to do something in this life that brings people joy. And there's a good energy around that. Let's talk about that. Let's bring that to the conversation. And the Spawnies is an extension of that, where, a lot of the folks that I come in contact with who are having discussions around diversity, inclusion, and equity, and the greater video game community and development world, they don't get a chance to see Black and brown kids who are doing that work. They don't get a chance to see folks who from underrepresented spaces. Even if you may see their names in the credit, you don't know who they are, because they don't really have a place to be seen or a place to showcase their work. And our show is trying to rectify that in some way. So the kind of big line in the sky, the kind of most aspirational thing is, as soon as you turn the Spawnies on, from the time that you start that show to the end of that show, you see nothing but people of color for the entire show. And we've gotten pretty close. We're at probably 92%. In terms of getting to that number of 100%. And it's been brilliant. It's been fun. We're doing stuff that nobody else is doing and can't do because we're connected to cultures in that way, and it feels really good to put something out in the world that people enjoy. People are starting to really have an understanding of what we're trying to do, and it's dope. It's a fun show. Like a lot of the stuff in the industry right now is so dour, and a lot of the energy is so down. And again, reasonable for all the layoffs and the conversations that are happening in that conversation. But even before a lot of those news beats hit and all of that information started to really bubble up, from press to players to all that stuff, was always about how negative everything is around this thing that we all spend time with and love and enjoy. And I'm like, for an hour and a half, you're going to get a show that has music. You're going to get a show with, some fun additions to it through, the weird art and names of our categories and stuff for our show. And you're going to come away with it feeling better about being a person who loves this thing that we call video games. So that's the hope. And that's the aspirational goal.
Nice.
I like your Game of the Year award is called the Cheddar Bay Biscuit. I can't.
Hell
Do you think
yeah.
Jeff Keeley? Do you think Jeff Keeley's ever eaten a Cheddar Bay Biscuit?
I think he's done it, but he's done it in quiet. Like it's one of those like a shameful thing.
He came from like I'm not like getting at him, but he came from money, right? Like that may be beneath his station, like the Red Lobster outing.
Here's the thing, though. I think I don't want Jeff to be in the corner like I'm eating this biscuit because this was biscuit. But like, here's the thing, because I've had a lot of conversations over the past, since the Game Awards of last year, and even bubbled up even more this year, of a lot of folks kind of getting at Jeff and being like, well, he's not doing this and he's not doing that and X, Y, and Z. And I'm not going to like jump on a soapbox and be like, I love Jeff Keeley. Like, Jeff Keeley's a dope human being from the conversations that we've had and the interactions we've had.
Like, I am a legit fan of his, like back from when he was like a journalist and like writing stuff for various gaming magazines. Like, I've always known that name in the industry. And
I want to talk about that because I think to a certain extent, like, it goes back to that thing I talked about initially, which is reverence, right? And I am standing on so many different shoulders to be able to have this medium basement studio and to be able to have talked to, the heads of most of the largest companies in the gaming space on the planet. And I go into that with a little bit of humility to be able to say, like, it is hard to do what Jeff Keeley is doing. As a person who is doing this show on no money and struggling to figure out how to make it happen every year and getting to see the spectacle that he puts on every year, I got a huge level of appreciation for the work that goes into doing a thing that you don't have to do. And I think that's a big part of the conversation, is like, people will crap and moan on him. I don't know. I forgot if I can cuss, but people will piss and moan about
whatever you want.
People shit on him for
it just keeps getting worse. We're like, oh no, you can't go that far.
Yeah. These are my people. But like, people shit on him for doing a thing that, honestly, in that space, if you think about, the means in which he came from and all those pieces, you don't have to do any of this stuff. So like, there is a layer when he says, I do this because I love it. There is a scintilla of that being true, even if you don't believe it. And, the thing that has come across for most of the years that I've seen Jeff be in the space is like, the biggest knock you can have on him is like, he feels like he could potentially be a little bit plastic, right? And I don't think you do this work if you're that kind of person, right? I don't think you jump into a space to do a thing that no one else on the planet is doing at that space as a single individual who has now gotten a team, without having an understanding of why you want to do it. The same reason he's doing that in that space to make the Oscars for what it is the reason why I spend half a year trying to get the Spawnies off the ground, so that we have a space to talk about what we love and to do it in a different angle than what he's potentially doing, which I think, during those conversations during the Game Awards and, them not having conversations about the layoffs and the stuff that's happening in the world, had a lot of people roll up on me and was like, yo, Ka, like, how people get their eyes real excited for you and they get real hyped for you. And, I appreciate it because it tells me that I'm doing it right. And it tells me that people will have a respect for the work that I do. But a lot of people were like, "Yo, Ka, Game Awards wasn't hitting. Like you could do it. You could be the cat to do it this year. Like you could be the dude. Like Spawnies could be the show." And I was like, "You don't have Spawnies money to give me."
Yep.
And also,
so you can't get any Muppets on the show.
Yeah, I was like, like here's my PayPal. Like you can hit me up whatever you want and put some money in the bucket.
Like that's the trick there.
That's the trick there. But also, there's another layer of that conversation I think is even more important. And I got caught up into that hype for a hot second too, because everyone wants to be the man, right?
Yeah.
Jeff is the man. I'm okay with saying Jeff is the man. But when I thought about it, I was like, if I try to be that, then I lose what is important about our show. And I lose what is the avenue and the lane where I can do the best work. Because anyone, again, takes money, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes a lot of people. Anyone can do what Jeff is doing at the Game Awards. There are very few people who can do what I'm doing with the Spawnies. They just aren't. They don't have that combination of understanding the audience. So they don't have that conversation about connecting with audiences and people of color and underrepresented groups in that way. I mean, I get it totally right all the time, but I am way closer to that conversation in a way, just doing this on my own and pulling in some really smart and fun people than he can be because of who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So it changes that conversation in a much bigger way. And I'm like, if I can make my lane as big as his lane, that's better. Because then I get way more layers of the cake than he can do. Right?
Yes. So many people have like armchair Jeff and everything, kind of like I could do it better and this is how it should be, but they never like put up and actually do it. And like, as you said, you don't have money for the Spawnies, and like when we were doing the indie showcase back on the Escapists, we didn't have money for that either. Like it was just Omar and I basically putting all that together ourselves to, just showcase indies. It's like you're right, anybody could do this. So if you're gonna go after the people that do it, well, you better put your money where your mouth is. Or if you don't have money, at least put your effort where your mouth is.
Yeah, it comes down to two things. It comes down to money, and it comes down to imagination. Well, three things: money, imagination, and access.
Yeah.
And support. The four things. I just keep adding things to it.
They just keep multiplying.
Yeah, it's like on 10 by the end of the show.
It's like pals, right? They just come out of the ball, and then you get more stuff. But it's that layer of stuff of like, if you understand how hard it is to build a thing. And I love, like, I got a chance to host DICE some years ago, which was amazingly fun, and that was a really transformative moment because I got a chance to see how the soup was made, and I was like, oh, there's a lot that makes this happen, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into this for a show that, to be honest, people don't watch, right? And there's another conversation about that later, but I think learning about what that means for the industry and seeing, again, I will double down on that word reverence, the reverence that everyone in that room has for each other and for each other's work, and for a medium that is still fairly young, and we're still trying to, plant our own flags in a lot of the ways that all of these other industries have already done and have an understanding and language and all of those pieces already for it. Gaming industry is still having the dumbass conversations like, is gaming art? I'm like, shut up. Why are we still having that conversation?
Yeah.
Why are we still doing the thing where we are not standing on our own version of business and saying, we understand that we are the folks doing this work. We understand that we have the ability and the know-how and the knowledge and all of that energy to be able to do that. But we constantly do this thing as an industry where we give our power away to other people to tell us that we have value when we've already done it
for validation, right?
Yeah.
Like that was one of the big criticisms of Jeff's show, was that it was freaking stuffed with Hollywood celebrities and cameos and like giving extra time to people who, I guess in his mind, were validating their presence, like gaming's presence, when like gaming is kind of its own thing that can be a big deal on its own, but like the confidence isn't there yet.
Well,
and I get it.
Like people, we say people don't watch DICE, and I think Kai, you've figured it out. If you make your show actually entertaining and tell stories and make people want to watch it, it'll show up. And I think Jeff has kind of lost the plot with the Game Awards a little bit, thinking like I have to have all these announcements to boost my numbers up every year. Where I think that's where kind of the disconnect for Jeff is, like, you do it because you love it, but also like he's trying to grow the audience every year. And
Yeah, like, it has to be bigger each time, right?
Yeah, at least for something like Dice, hopefully they figure out, or if somebody else figures it out, like just tell the human stories. That's like what people connect with as they're listening. And yeah, if you don't worry about the viewership as much, then you can have a more interesting show.
Yeah, I think for the fans, I do feel like this year, especially in the next few months, when we have the Spawnies, we have GDC Awards, we have the Dice Awards. Like, this is kind of the like, okay, you said you want a show that's gonna like be funny and focus on the devs. We have shows for you, so you better show up to them, because if December rolls around and you're complaining about the Game Awards again, watching it while still having not watched those things, that's on you. Like, you're not helping the change.
Yep, looking at you, chat. You can't be cynical about the Game Awards.
Don't yell at chat.
Yeah, why did you turn on chat?
Chat knows what's going on.
I love you, chat. I love you, chat.
Game Awards chat.
But I understand it though. Like, there's a part of that I also understand, right? Where like everything works off of clout and hype in a lot of different circumstances. Like, we can't remove that layer of it from the equation and expect people to give a crap. We are in the most busy space in all of human history in terms of things trying to pull your attention. And to not understand that, you need to be able to go back and say, well, like, yeah, a lot of people watch the Oscars and they watch the Grammys and all that other kind of stuff. They don't really look at it to see who won an award. They look at it to see the performances. Most people don't the people who don't give a crap about the actual football and Super Bowl, they will damn sure go watch the halftime show. So it's like, you have to understand the hook of why people do that stuff. And if you understand that, then you'll understand why Jeff is doing what he's doing. The thing that is that interesting disconnect is, does the audience who is at home care about the same thing that the developers in the room care about? And if you know what is happening between those two spaces, you know the answer is no.
Yeah, they're very, very different.
Twitter's its own audience, at home audience its own audience, and developers are its own audiences. So you'll never satisfy them all. So like, I don't know, if I was Jeff, I just Twitter would be like the least of my concerns.
What he's doing.
Yeah, I wouldn't
like going up every
he's
year.
Winning. Yeah, like
he's getting like more Avengers and more Wonkas.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, Kojima hasn't said no to an invite yet, so
yeah. Now Kojima's bringing his buddies, bringing Jordan Poole.
The funniest Game Award moment that I've seen. I was lucky enough to be featured in the Game Awards for a segment. They do this like kind of up and coming future class pieces that they do, and I was luckily enough to be featured in one of them. And I think, it is one of my most proudest moments of being able to say that I was in that. They came to the house, came to the studio, did all the stuff, and walked around with me in Portland. Like, I go outside. I don't know. That was fake news. That was all fake. I was outside, but it was fake. Yeah, I was like, "What? Air? Get the hell out of here!" And it was great because at that moment, it was a like, you have made it kind of moment, right? The thing that made it even better was like right before that, Sting performed. And I got a bigger ovation than Sting did in the room, which was fire. Because I was sitting in the pew. I was sitting in the pews. It was not church. I was sitting in the audience, and Sting just did his thing. And I'm looking. I'm like, I'm like 50 feet away from Sting, and people are golf clapping Sting. And I knew from that moment that I was like, this ain't it.
Yeah.
And that was a really good moment for me. Right? Because I wasn't thinking about putting on an award show really at that point. But seeing people golf clap Sting in the room and being too cool for school for Sting, and me getting more love than he did in the audience because I'm doing a thing that matters in this industry, at least I hope I am. That was a thing that made me feel like, oh, okay, well, there's a space here that we're missing, and I might be able to fill at least a version of what that potentially can be. And I think that is the driving force continues to be like, how do we up the level of, production? And, we had Austin Creed in the show, roasting my good friend Paris Lilly, Xavier Woods, I'm sorry. WWE superstar Xavier Woods, on the show, doing that stuff. Like, he was kind enough to do a skit for us, right? Like, we won't have a skit this year because I just didn't have time. But
man, you gotta get a cook off between you and Paris on the.
We're trying. We're just trying to find somebody to get some money to sponsor it. Because I'm not doing anything for free. I'm not your dancing monkey. I'm not doing that.
Let them know.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, I'm always down to get some sponsored content to happen, and I really actually wanted to happen because now I'm even getting tired of the joke. I'm like, I don't know how much I can talk about this.
It's just a really easy way to solve it. It's just someone come in and give you a bunch of money, and you guys will do it.
I'm just saying, just make it happen.
Like, let's get it over with.
Yeah, let's
how is a grill company not approaching you about this yet? What are they doing?
We've had grills sent to us. I have a grill sent to Weber sent me a grill. Traeger sent him a grill. But the interesting conversation around that was, at least from the Weber side, was because I basically they got in my DMs and I was like, here's this fun thing that we're doing. I showed them all the stuff with the video I had made, and that video had like Kurt Angle in it and Montel Jordan in it and all these. I spent a lot of Fiverr or was it Cameo money that year
Sure.
to get all that stuff to work, and it was great. It was a really fun skit. It was a lot of fun. And Weber like jumped in my DMs and it was like, hey, let's talk, and does so we had the conversation. They were like, we really don't want to fight with Traeger. We really want it to be like super chill. And I was like, we're not beefing like in a real beef way. But they were like, they kind of got cold feet when they saw other people jump into the conversation.
They're
and I was like, oh, this is gonna be so much fun. There were a lot of fun potential things that we were gonna do with that skit or with that with that meme that we're doing.
You should hit up like outdoorsy companies and just do it like on a griddle outside in the woods.
Something.
Yeah, get REI or Cabela's the sponsor.
If you see my big ass outside of PAX with a grill, you'll know what happened. I'm out here cooking in front of GDC. This is how we're getting it done this year.
Gotta pay the bills.
Gotta pay the bills, no doubt. Oh man.
So what did you're putting on this show that's going to be sort of a look back, a celebration of 2023. What did you think of 2023 on the whole?
I mean, it was a fantastic year for games, man. Like, I think, outside of all the industry, grossness in terms of the hiring and firings parts, what a fantastic year for games. Like, there was so many bangers in that year that I still am rolling through my backlog of stuff of trying to figure like what can I get back to and what did I miss, and like I'm still like, I should go play some Armored Core. I got it. I have it. Everyone said it was super dope. Like, I should go play that. But I've been stuck on a couple of games that are kind of more recent of late. But I think the thing that I think about for that year was, in a lot of times when you have a really stellar year, it is very similar to like in genre and in scope of game and kind of game that captures a certain level of audience. There were so many different experiences within 2023, and there were so many different ways you could play and conversations around different games and stuff that was happening, even tertiary to the games themselves, that it was really cool to be able to see everyone have a good time, even though they wouldn't say it on social. They were having a good time in the crib. They were enjoying themselves, and a lot of people were like, yo, I have stuff to play in a time when everyone has that, I don't have anything to play. And I'm like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, if you at any point in the back half of last year said I don't have anything to play, it's like maybe you just don't like games.
Right?
Because if one of these games isn't speaking to you, no matter if it's like, something smaller like Cocoon or all the way up to, Baldur's Gate, Alan Wake, and Zelda and Resi and Street Fighter, like one of these games has to speak to you.
Something. And I think that's a big part of the thrust of like moving in from that year into this year. I think 2023 was such a fantastic year. It feels like you can't continue to have that level of quality moving into the next year. But even if you look at the upcoming roster for this year, there's so much cool stuff that's happening in so many small pockets and big pockets of stuff.
Three 80+ tier games in 2 weeks already.
We are 3 weeks into the year, and I'm already feeling like I'm behind. And I'm like,
I am behind already.
I am
because it's like Prince of Persia comes out, it's great.
Yep.
Yakuza comes out on Friday, it's great. Or Like a Dragon comes out, it's great. Apparently Tekken, great.
Yep.
We're about to have Persona, we're about to have Suicide Squad, we're getting Final Fantasy in a month. Like, it's wild.
Yeah, Palworld right now.
Palworld. Completely forgot about
Well,
that.
yeah, I mean, that's the main topic we're going to talk about. Is then you have these games who come out of relative nowhere. I mean, we knew about Palworld. We didn't know 7 million in 5 days. Palworld was coming here, but yeah, it's just wild. There's no slowing down. I don't know if this is all like sort of residual after the pandemic, after COVID. You know, like studios finally sort of
like what it is. Yeah, like all the stuff that they had been working on and got pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed finally came out of the other side, and like it seems like it's even spilling over into this year a little bit. So I'm curious when it will actually dry up, or if that momentum will kind of take them because they've built that goodwill and they have good building blocks from all the time it took to build. Like, because there's a lot of like first timers too, like games that will basically birth new franchises going forward, right? Like Lies of P, for example. The next game coming from that studio is gonna be big as hell.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we might just be in a new game renaissance. That's all I'm saying. The pandemic might have killed millions of people, but it might help. Might help.
There you go.
The Phoenix Rising from
the perfect company.
You gotta look at silver linings, guys.
Silver linings. But I agree. Like I think that it's gonna be one of those conversations about like, because everybody does the retro afterwards, and you figure out like, all right, let's go back to 2023, or what was the last super big gaming year? I can't remember, but like
2017, maybe
2017. Yeah, that's the one I think most people have the kind of biggest nostalgia for. And I think this will be one of those years where people will go back and we're like, 2023 was just redonkulous in terms of so many cool things that got a chance to play, or, you know, got a chance to see, or stuff that didn't make it, that was supposed to go out, that didn't go out. Because we had a lot of, besides, you know, games kind of just like, besides studios closing, we had a lot of games that were supposed to come out that just didn't. And there was a lot of hype around games that just wind up not actually doing anything that day before. Ooh, boy. Man, listen.
Don't bring up that game around me.
I mean, I know. Nick just pulled a shotgun out from underneath the desk. He was like, "Man, taking somebody else."
I feel like Nick was like
that statement from this morning. I was like, "Is this towards me?"
But it's wild, man.
We have Palworld now. It's fine. Everything's fine with Palworld.
A real game.
The world has changed.
Yeah.
Overnight.
What do you think about the sort of segueing into Palworld, but part of this whole thing? It is crazy to me that a week ago no one was talking about Palworld, and now it is all I see. Like it is all. And do you think this is one of those things where that's just how the little ecosphere of gaming Twitter that we're in is? Like there's always a what is the main character for this X amount of weeks or whatever, and it was last year you had the Hogwarts Legacy period, you had the Starfield period, you have these little pockets. Like what do you think, is that just what this is, or is Palworld like a legit game changer?
I don't think so. I think this is the this is gonna really date me, but this is like the pet rock of 2023. Like this thing does not have legs in any real way from what I can tell, from both a game perspective, having played it, and from like the business perspective of like, and to a certain extent, like the culture is just different, right? Like we move on so quickly from stuff that nothing really has legs anymore. Like there are a few things that have staying power and sticking power, and and for as much as people poo-poo microtransactions and live service games and all of those conversations, what games are actually staying around? It's those games. It's a lot of those titles. It is the Fortnite. It is, Halo Infinite had a really nice comeback in a lot of different ways. Halo's is better than it's ever been, at least in my interpretation. So if you have an established IP, or if you're, borrowing a whole bunch of IP, not talking about Palworld, but, and talking more about Fortnite, but like they have figured out the cycle of how do you keep a game relevant in a way that I don't think Palworld has the people power to do, and has the kind of mind share to do. Like this is happening now. 6 months from now, no one's going to be talking about Palworld. Like this will not be a thing that's going to be around.
Last year, V Rising took the world by storm.
Right.
I mean, it sold over 3 million copies, and people still play it. People still really like it. But I mean, Palworld's going to be big for probably a couple months, and we'll see where it goes. I think I think the other reason it's blowing up right now is because I think it hit that very specific. Well, at first they did the market research perfectly. Everybody wanted a creature collecting game where you could shoot them and survival building, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The trailers were really well done for that. And then the controversy, like they hit exact right time where everybody's pissed off about AI. and so basically they got free marketing for themselves just by the nature of that.
Oh, it's so
and there's
funny
been so
too.
much bullshit. There's so much bullshit.
Well, here's the thing though, and I want to pause you on that because I'm happy you talked about the AI thing and the kind of energy of the space that you talked about, Marty. The thing that I find the most frustrating about this conversation around Palworld is less the AI stuff, because people definitely jumped into their everything is bad, everybody's effing it up bag really early, and did that thing that we tell most folks not to do, which is to jump to conclusions.
Yep.
So I, me on that conversation, like I understand the reasons why people are mad about generative AI. Like I get all of those pieces of the conversation. We actually had a really good episode with Tremel Isaac on the show right when that was starting to bubble up, and he was a developer. He used to work at Boss Key. Now he's working at a whole bunch of other different. He's basically the person who made Vault Boy. If you ever seen the Vault Boy design, it's him. Tremel Ray Isaac. The thing that is the most interesting and frustrating about this conversation is for an industry that is full of people who want to see the little person get their due. This should be the come up story of the year. But everyone is crapping on it for various reasons of stuff that is not founded in any truth. The stuff that is true is weird because it basically is saying, if you are even curious about the technology, we have to throw you in the gulag.
Yeah.
And that is weird to me. Like that part to me is the thing that I think a lot of folks are messing up in the industry across a lot of the media space, and a lot of the folks who we know as kind of the bigger names in the kind of journalism and media space, is not that they should be wrong about the potential detriments and kind of, I don't like to say evil because people make it evil. The tech isn't evil. Those layers of the conversation. It is the fact that there is a really important moment that's happening right now that literally everyone is missing. And that part of that conversation is the only way that you can really thwart something that you think is evil is if you understand it.
Yep.
And the way that we saw
crypto and NFTs and everything.
Well, even going back to Hogwarts, right?
Yep.
Where there was so much energy around, like if you play it, if I see you playing it on your dashboard, we coming for you. There was a website that was like, this person, if you played it, we found all the people who are playing it. And I was like, do you not understand that as a group of folks who are the ones who are the biggest proponents of let's get truth out there, let's be reasonable, let's, at least we should be, be nuanced about a conversation and be knowledgeable about it, because we don't see that from the audience 99% of the time. We are missing the ability to go and engage with a thing, know more about it, and be able to disseminate that information back to the audience, who is going to be the most affected outside of the developer space. And there is a refusal to do it because you will get the scarlet letter if you even talk about it on Twitter. Yeah. And that's dumb.
It's really frustrating. Yeah.
It's super stupid.
Like people come into
sort of conversation.
Yeah, people come into streams and they're like, NFTs and crypto. I'm like, I don't even know what these things are. I don't even know what you're mad about. I don't even know what I'm mad about. I need to understand what these things are. And it's the same thing with like this whole AI conversation. Like the finals was getting attacked a few weeks ago for their text-to-speech stuff. And like I'm working on a video right now that kind of goes into a lot of this stuff. And like, have you ever played an EA Sports game? Pretty sure they use AI to do text-to-speech when they record the voices of the announcers to do all those play-by-play calls. Like this stuff is not new. We're just hearing about it for the first time, and I don't know for sure if it uses AI, but like, that's basically what the finals is doing. Everybody's like, "Wow, you got to pay those voice actors and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, pay the voice actors, but also like, if the people making the game, the sound designers are telling you this is the way we need to do this to make this actually work, I'd probably listen to them over somebody just yelling at me about AI stuff." Like it's so every one of these conversations is just people yelling about stuff and pulling out of context tweets and interviews, and it's like the Palworld CEO, everybody hates this guy right now
for no reason.
because he created a Bitcoin company, which everybody was all about Bitcoin before it got popular to hate on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he worked at JP Morgan.
Yep.
And then he basically, in this interview, the interview that was taken out of context, he's like, yeah, I'm not so much worried about originality as I am of getting my games out to as massive audience as possible.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, no, that's bad. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, the reason we make games is to make money.
Also, you know who probably thinks like that? The head of every studio.
Exactly.
So, like, I have a lot of mouths to feed.
Shintaro Furukawa thinks just like that, man.
Yeah.
1,000%. And it's this weird burying of our heads in the sand for some virtuous reason that doesn't really matter to anyone outside of your friend group. That people are trying to pose up and do this thing that I laugh at it because in the grand scheme, and you know, no matter where you are on the spectrum of what do you believe around technology and where technology has failed us and you know, all of those pieces, which again is less about the technology and more about the humans and the way that they use them, is we've gotten this like weird level of unearned PTSD about things that don't matter. and it's a weird thing where it's like, sure, like stitching in video games is real. Like that's the way audio works. It's the reason why you have all of these different permutations when you play a game of 2K and you get the things that are talking about the very specific things that you're doing in that game. That technology is called stitching. That's part of that. Some of that may be used, may have a artificial intelligence layer of it. Some of it is probably not. Maybe some person in a room who's doing that work, right? Sure. But this idea that just talking about technology when you are using that technology every day is weird. You are not turning Siri off your phone. You are not really you're not throwing the Alexa out of the window. You're not, oh man, everyone's using this stuff and making their pictures and making their avatars. And I was like, yeah, fam, they had my address. They had my face. They had that stuff 10 years ago, fam. Like, don't front like you are now Amish and just magically just threw all technology away and decided that it is no longer for you, because that's full of shit. That's not real. So let's get to the part where, you know, I will go back to what my grandma used to tell me, because I used to get caught a lot. Like my run it back real quick. My wife would often find me playing with people and she would hear me fussing at them over party chat. Mm-hmm. And it would be a conversation around like politics or some other thing, right? Mm-hmm. And she was like, are you arguing with these random ass people on the internet again? And I was like, well, look, I am not trying to persuade or sway them. I will at least hear the conversation out, because I think 90% of conversations have a tidbit of something that you can pull from, and you don't have to then incorporate that. You can just hear a person out and be like, all right, I don't believe you. I think you're full of crap. I think that doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely.
But you can pull something from that conversation and use it for a future argument or a future conversation, or a thing to enlighten you about a thing that you don't know. And I think what we've done in the industry now is we have put on a pedestal a lot of folks who virtual signal about a thing, and people will run with that virtual signaling and go with that vibe. And because the way the industry works is, if you've, you know, put yourself out there enough to feel like you're a person who's not following a lot of the groupthink, people look at you sideways, and then they figure out ways to kind of, you know, they don't blackball you, but there's like levels of access that get removed from conversations. There are like side eyes that go along with conversations that happen. And it doesn't matter if you're right. It doesn't matter if the conversation was nuanced. It matters if you felt a way. And if you felt a way, that's all that matters. And I'm not a person who was raised like that. I was raised in a way to be curious. I was raised in a way to say, that thing is ass because I tried it first. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. This is bad. This doesn't make sense. This is not fully baked yet. This doesn't really get to what we need as a society. But if we have a lot of those folks as the drivers of conversation, we mute literally a lot of people being able to find out good information, because the people who would be the best arbiters of that won't even talk about it.
Yeah.
So like,
Felix,
what are we doing? That's the what are we doing here part of the conversation, right?
Yeah, Felix
So
in chat said this is a weird straw man. AI as a term isn't even cohesive enough for this. Nobody's hucking speech to text out the window. We're in arms about straight up stealing art. I mean, I think everybody that's creative is against AI stealing art. I don't think this is not a straw man argument. This is there's so
People
many
don't
different
understand the
uses.
thing that they're mad about. That's what
Yeah,
we're
there's so
talking
many different uses for AI, and as soon as you mention it in any form for anything, the conversation goes towards I hate it, I hate you, and I want you to die.
and that's the
And
part.
that's part of a larger issue with
Yeah.
social media over time, is where you cannot even have the conversation
Well,
where we understand why it's bad in the first place.
Yeah, and I mean, like I pointed out a couple weeks ago this guy that he was like, I made a whole movie using AI, and I'm like, you didn't make shit. you had art and you stitched it together, and then I had a bunch of AI bros in my thing, like going like, this is gonna take away the jobs from all you annoying creatives. I'm like, no, it's not. Nobody's ever gonna pay for this. Nobody's ever gonna watch this and think it's good.
I remember the Corridor Digital incident, right? And I was like, those folks are absolutely talented people who tried a thing. Mm-hmm. If you look at the baseline of what those series of videos were, it was, we are interested in a thing, a new technology that's bubbled up. Let's play around with it and make some content towards it. And they got their faces eaten for no reason, because it was just like, you are a terrible human being for engaging with the thing. And I'm like, the conversations that bubble up from that are more dangerous in some ways than the actual technology, because it makes people stupid.
Yeah, and especially
at the end of the day,
the not only the anonymity of the internet and social media, but just even the distance. Even if you are a known figure, the distance that social media has, people say things and act a way that they would not act to someone's face, and that is just new to human beings, to like us genetically. Like all of the previous thousands of years of humans, like the only way you could convey that opinion to someone else is to say it to their face, and you'd get hit.
Oh,
you like, I don't know, man. I played Call of Duty growing up. I had a lot of people say a lot of things about my mother.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is all
that they wouldn't say to your face.
This is all new.
Well, they at least said it with their voice. Now it's just text.
Yeah, it's just.
I'm not giving them any more respect for saying it over there. Like, get out of here. If you're not gonna say that in my face,
Nick, you survived.
I did.
But Marty, I want to poke at that really quick, because I think that's an important distinction, right? Even if you remove the like, say it to my face parts of that, the part that is weird and is even more dangerous is that people then make an assumption about your character based on your curiosity. And that's screwed up, because then, again, like, I remember a moment in Twitter where Twitter was a really fantastic space to learn from your peers. It was a really dope space. Like, there was a dope show that I used to love. It was called, it was Melissa Harris Perry's show. So it was like a very, very cool show that was around. It was a MSNBC show, but it really dug into a lot of Black culture and from a political perspective, right? And we grew a lot of good energy around that show, because it was a thing where every week you would learn something about culture, you'd learn something about politics, you'd learn something about the way government works, all of those pieces of stuff. And me, I'm not a political wonk. I'm not the person who's like trying to hug Steve Karnacki like yo, what up, fam? I'm like, you read the board and you see the numbers move.
What about when he breaks? What about when he breaks down the playoffs?
Oh, I mean, I throw my shirt off. I put baby oil on. It's sexy. I like candles. Drink a beer. But it's that stuff, right? When we have those conversations about like, what is the balance between good information that has value to you and feeling like it is an affront to your whole being. This is where we're at now, where everything is an affront to your being. If you do not share the same vision, the same theories, the same stuff. Like, people forget the like agree to disagree layers of it, because that part is just like, you can walk your separate ways. But in an industry that is so small, and everybody at home, this industry is small. That is a problematic thing, not only for the folks who are in the space, but anyone who's even thinking about being in this space. I think the biggest issue that we've seen across a lot of these conversations, it has definitely made people feel like this is not a space for you.
Oh yeah, I mean,
in a conversation where we've been doing all the work, like Spawnamy is here for a decade. The whole reason this is here was to inspire that young black kid at home in the Bronx to be like, yo, I want to go and try to have a smart conversation about video games at some point. If I were to just say, hey, you had a conversation about this one thing that I didn't necessarily understand, and now I hate you, where does that leave that kid? Where does that leave that adult who doesn't now have the ability to maneuver and to network and to do that stuff because you one day was like, yo, this AI ain't that bad. Like, what?
Yeah. Well,
like, I mean, again, what are we doing? So there's a lot of layers to that, right?
It's even shown in our reporting with, like, you know, with Paul, going back to Palworld.
Yeah.
VGC published an interview with an artist giving quotes for the story on, you know, the possible plagiarism. And they let the artist stay anonymous, like a AAA artist. And the same in that same fucking quote, they're like, I would stand up in court and testify on this, but I'm like, you won't put your name on this quote on a journalistic article? Like,
nope.
What are we like? Are we that scared to say what's on our mind? Like, yep, we are. And like, that's ridiculous.
1,000%.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the kind of the stuff that's like really annoyed me about the industry for a while now. It's like the conversations are so hard to have. Like, people want to have conversations about unionization, but they won't attach their names to it because they're afraid of getting roasted for it, or they're afraid of having the conversation about how are we using AI. We can't even have the conversation because everybody will get roasted for it. Well, it's like, where, you know, these, or do we have these forums in person at GDCs? Like, I don't think Twitter will ever be. I don't think Twitter will ever be the space again that you can't have those types of conversations.
But like, Nick, you can't even have those conversations at GDC. If you do, it has to be at a bar or a
closed
back
door.
Yep.
Yeah,
it has to be a closed door conversation, right? Like, anybody who would have that conversation on a panel, if you are a developer and you wanted to go to GDC this year and do a panel, an informed panel about your belief about the potential positive aspects of what generative AI could do for the video game industry, you will get blackballed out of this industry.
What was that? There was a presentation not too long ago that had that exact thing happen to them, and it was completely taken out of context. I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah, but it's like we've gotten to a point where, again, like,
I think it was the tiny build presentation over something and it was about AI, and they basically. Of course, it was bad timing because like a few months later they laid off people. So
which is a whole other conversation. Yeah. And again, like, I think you know, when I have these conversations with you and the rest of the audience and everybody else who this is, like, again, I am not a proponent for what we're currently seeing, but I have an understanding of it. So at least a tertiary one, like at least a kind of like rudimentary version of like, I understand what this is doing. I know what it's like. Like, do I get the scarlet letter because I used Midjourney once? Like, probably now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do I have to go to church and do an Our Father now because I made some pictures in Midjourney at one point? Like, probably. But like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's honestly wild because a lot of folks last year went and watched Oppenheimer, which was half about the Red Scare. That's literally what this is.
Yes, it is.
Like, that's all this is.
It totally is. And I want people at home to not feel afraid to be able to engage with new things, because to be fair, you know, I am people first. Our show is so dev centered and dev centric. You know, the best episodes that we've ever had on Spawnamy have been when developers come onto our show and have been really transparent and really open with their thoughts, their feelings, and their work. And I never want that to go away. But I also understand that, like, technology is going to move with or without you. It's always going to do that. It's just a matter of it hits mass adoption or not. Yeah. And if it hits mass adoption, sorry, folks, you're going to have to figure out how to incorporate that into some of your work. People, like, one of the most interesting layers of that Tremel Ray Isaac conversation was like, he was like, nobody's mad at Kit Bash. He's like, no one is mad at that. Like, people don't beef about that. People don't beef about the way that particular assets are generated. And they use them all the time in video games you see all the time. Not everything is made by a person, but it doesn't get replicated by a person all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So to not understand that from a fundamental level of working in the space, I think a lot of people who are driving the conversations, both that one and the unionization conversation, have not been in those actual spaces and have an understanding from a lived experience about how it works. I worked in the union system for 10 years as a lowly help desk dude. It's the reason why my black ass is in Oregon right now, because I had to because I was sick of working at that spot. But it was one of those conversations of being like, I have an understanding of why unionization, for as much as I want it, is not the silver bullet to fix everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know why? Humans. Because humans. And humans are fallible, and everyone has an issue, or everybody wants power, and everyone wants stuff. Like, so there's conversations along all of those things that we continue to miss because we're afraid to talk about the thing in the room.
Yeah, because that was games, Chad, we'll get to more Palworld stuff here in a second. I think this all ties into it, but gamesindustry.biz just shared the GDC report that like 57% of people in the industry supposedly want unionization.
Yep.
And then the only thing that came out of that story again was like the stupid comments from the CEOs that don't want it. And it's like all that the focus was on that conversation, basically making fun of those guys. I'm like, can we please just stop focusing on that and like get to the reason? What is unionization going to do? I need to know how are these devs are going to use it? Like, how does it support indie, or where's indie developers fall in that? Because a lot of indie developers I've talked to don't want to be part of a union.
No, because you have to pay the amount of work they can do.
Yep.
You have to pay union dues. That's why.
Yep. So a lot of indie devs I know don't want to do it because it'll restrict what work they can take and where they can go work.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I don't know. There's just there's so many
there's
so
a
many
conversation
conversations
that needs to happen. That is being stifled.
But I mean, to be fair though, like Ka and I think us here at Second Wind, I think we are creating those spaces where those conversations going to happen. And I know at least ever since taking over the Escapists, I've really just had to learn to like, you know what, Twitter is not my audience. The audience is the people that come to watch our shows every day and listen to us here. And if Twitter gets mad at me, so be it. Whatever.
I mean, at the end of the day, what's the worst thing that someone can say about doing that work? Damn, the folks at Second Wind and the Spawn on Me were nuanced about the way they tried to talk about a thing.
They tried to have an educated conversation. How dare they?
Damn them smart motherfuckers! How dare you try to be smart? I'm like, okay.
That's the other problem, even like leading into the Palworld stuff, is I just feel like there's like everyone has an opinion, and there's also a giant vacuum of knowledge of how the sausage is made in any of these games, how a game is made, how a studio is run, how any of this happens. And I will say firsthand, I do not like it. It seems like magic to me. Like, I've been doing this for a long time. I've learned a lot, but it still seems like literal sorcery to me that any video game, even a game that gets a 2 out of 10, fucking Redfall, it seems like a miracle to me that game exists.
It is extremely difficult to make any of the stuff that we get a chance to play. I've been lucky enough to work in a couple of different avenues. I worked at Intel for a bit in their AR and VR department. I worked at Riot in the diversity and inclusion department, and I worked at Firewalk for a little bit, who's making their PS5 game Concord very, very soon. And now I'm at another studio now, and getting a chance to see the different layers of what that means, from early inception to beta to getting a game that's already been out in the world and you're kind of like already in the sausage already, like the stuff is already getting made. There's so many different conversations that go along each one of those different kinds of projects and studios of various sizes, that I think what the industry has done a disservice to has shown exactly what that sausage looks like when it is being made, right? Like, and I get to a certain extent, like there's a lot of conversations of why that is. I think some of that is people want to protect the project that they're working on. I think most of the folks in many video game audiences have the biggest armchair quarterback seat that they've ever seen in the world, and they think they know, and they have absolutely no idea how games work. And to a certain extent, like, we are in the biggest industry of introverts on the planet. Like, developers don't want to be out in front. There are very few folks who want to be on camera. There are very few folks who want to do the interview. Because to a certain extent, they understand that the audience that they're speaking to doesn't want to get it. And I think when you see an audience make up narratives about a thing when I'm plainly telling you how it works, and you'd be like, nah, son, that's not the way that works. I know, because I played Gears of War 3 back in the day. You lose the want to teach at that
Yeah,
point.
it's like, what's the point if this is like
Well,
this
I
is
mean,
what I have to
shit,
address?
it's so many of the developers that I grew up following on Twitter are gone. Like they don't engage with it ever anymore. Like all of I got a bunch of doc opportunities through Twitter, like Darkest Dungeon, and both Tyler and Chris Perez have mostly for the whole point left Twitter at this point. And like a lot of the developers I grew up, Bill Garner is not on Twitter at this point. I used to talk to him all the time on Twitter. Like it's really sad to see like how much developers have just shied away from engaging with anybody on social media. But I also don't blame them. Like, you know, you got a game to make and you don't need to deal with the discourse all day.
I mean, the funniest thing right now is just waiting for Jaffe to say something when he's high. I'm like, come on, fam. Like, for real. Come on, fam.
That man just loves his attention.
He love him some weed. I'm in Oregon and he loves weed more than I do. And I'm like, I ain't mad at you because weed is great. But like, he just comes out of nowhere with some stuff, and I'm like, you could have kept that in the DMs, fam. Like that should have been your inside voice, and that was like 2 outside voices ahead of you. It's okay. I know you feel a certain way, but like, fam, I'm like, can you go make a game now at this point? And I think
you feel like another Calling All Cars, I'd be fine with that.
Give me that Drawn to Life, fam.
Exactly.
Yeah, make the Drawn to Life too. And again, reverence, like the person who's made one of my favorite games of all time, but is also now feels like he is not allowed to. He doesn't have a space in the industry in the way that it is now because of a lot of different versions and reasons of stuff. But I think it goes back to that conversation of like, how do we teach each other? How do we showcase? And how do we have, respectful conversations, even when we disagree? And it just isn't a space for that. And the Palworld conversations that we've seen over the past couple of weeks have bubbled that up in the dumbest way. Like that's the part that's been really frustrating. It's all stupid.
Yeah, that game is really stupid.
That game is dumb. That's a dumbass game. Like, hey, if you're playing Palworld at home, I appreciate you. I played that thing for like 5 hours on a weekend. I was like, yo, this is ass. This is ass.
Like that.
It's not. Like,
I do want to actually get into the meat and potatoes of the game.
Yeah.
Because I agree in that clearly that game was conceived with like the lowest common denominators, right? Algorithmic design in the sense that if this is good and that is good, if we put them together, it will be double as good, right?
Yes.
And weirdly enough, I do not like survival crafting games all that much. I've been a huge vocal Pokemon hater for a very long time because those games do not change. Like I like the concept, but like Nintendo keeps making the same effing game over and over again, and every non-Nintendo Pokemon clone or creature collector, if we're going to use the proper terminology, still stays so close to that Bible. But Palworld, for me, has hit. Like it is scratching that itch of wanting to collect all the little creatures. And like, yes, I'm going to build this base and I'm going to optimize my mining and resource gathering with the use of these creatures that I'm collecting. And it's created this loop that I'm actually engaged in and care about. And I know that the game is bad. I understand fully that it is not even finished. Like it's an early access thing. Like I don't think I've ever spent as much time in any other early access game as I have in Palworld. And there's a reason for this. It's because for years, Nintendo has refused to do anything with that formula. Right. They had a winning formula back in the early 90s or the 80s, whenever Pokemon Leaf Green and whatnot released. And they stuck to it because it sold. And Nintendo was very traditionalist. That's their culture. And for whatever reason, nobody else has been brave enough to attempt to do more than that. Until this dumbass game, until Palworld, did someone try something fully out of the box with that formula. And that's the reason why it's hitting. And like, you guys are right that this probably won't be like the next big wave that's going to like be a staple point. But just like how PUBG was kind of a really janky mess that introduced the world to Battle Royale, we're going to get another one. We're going to get a Fortnite after this that's going to take this and actually run with it. And that one's probably going to be big. And that's the one Nintendo's probably going to worry about. It might be, yeah. Epic might just jump on this.
Or like Fortnite, it's going to be a game that's already been announced, and they're going to be like, "Ooh, how do we pivot this?"
Right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's
Just
change
turn
this
this.
into that thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
could be.
Like I feel like I see that happening. But like, yeah, Palworld for what it is, like I get the hook. Like I get it. Like they might have stumbled upon it by pure happenstance.
I mean,
But this is Nintendo's fault.
for-
It's not even Nintendo, it's the Pokemon Company's fault, not Nintendo.
Sure. All right, fine. Pokemon Company.
But for
fine.
a mainstream audience, like this hits everything that the mainstream audience is like right now. It's colorful. It's got the survival crafting stuff going on. It's got creature collecting. It's got guns. It's got exploration. It's got meme
Like I haven't even hit
material.
the gun stuff yet.
It's
like, I don't care
literally
about the guns.
yeah, but
the
it's
loop is
literally
addicting.
like yeah, it's everything that audience wants right now. And the survival crafting genre, like I said this on Twitter, like a lot of people underestimate the survival crafting genre. Like the Forest or Sons of the Forest, 150,000 reviews, and it's not even out of early access yet. Not even 1.0. That game sold a fuck ton of copies.
Yeah.
Like and Shrouded just launched today, and I shared that earlier. 70,000 active players. It's a massive launch for that team.
Wow.
Like like this is a genre that people enjoy, and I don't really enjoy the grind of those games, but I mean, like V-Rising, Valheim, Enshrouded, Palworld, all these games are doing that stuff. They're all aping. Valheim was basically, what if we take survival crafting but add in Souls bosses, and here we are, right? Like it's those games take off.
We talked a week or two ago, Nick. We talked about how you started your Yellowstone journey, or you're planning on starting your Yellowstone journey, and about how Yellowstone's like crazy, one of like the most popular shows on TV, and I don't know anyone who watches it.
Right.
And that's this is to me the survival crafting world, survival crafting genre, and even Palworld to me are like those like medical and cop shows that I feel like there's 10,000 of them. There's fucking CSI. There's a whole Chicago cinematic universe. There's all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know anyone who watches this except my mom, and they're some of the most popular things on TV. And I'm over here like, did you guys see The Curse? Episode 10 was really crazy. And it's like I'm over here wanting to talk about Prince of Persia, but 7 million people just downloaded Palworld, and so it's like maybe I'm the one who's out of touch with this, honestly.
I think it's just there's the online audience, which is us. It's those people in chat, and then there's the audience like the friends I play with at night that just want to live in Minecraft for 2 hours a night, and as somebody said in chat, punch trees and shit. Like, don't want to do chores in real life, but you sure have no problem punching trees for 2 hours in a game to collect that, build your little house. But I think I do think the shock and awe of this game doing millions and millions of copies is, I wasn't surprised by that at all. This game, every time this game was shown at one of the award shows or whatever, there's tons of talk about it online. They've been doing crazy amount of marketing with like each individual creature for weeks. So I think, this game taking the internet by storm, it was bound to do that. I think it had all the right materials to do something like that. So
I guess the question I have for all of you is, there's usually a moment where a game like this bubbles up to get to that mass market, that inflection point. I remember Fortnite was Drake and Ninja playing together.
Right.
Which was that, I blame does all Drake's fault. But like, I don't remember who the person was that introduced the game to the world in a way that made it so that everyone is like, oh crap, we got to play this. Maybe somebody in chat knows it, but like, it felt like it jumped that moment.
It didn't have a release date until like a few days before it came out.
Huh.
Like it was in December. It wasn't like Palworld's coming in January. Everyone was like, remember that game with Pokemon with guns? What's going on with that game? And they're like, it's coming out in 1 week. That is the crazy thing. There is none of those. There is no Ninja Drake moment. It is just, I woke up one morning and they're like, we sold 3 million copies in a day. And I'm like, you did what?
Yeah, I think we
have 1 million concurrents on Steam. And I'm like, you do?
I think like after the day before, like this was another game that everybody was kind of like, is this thing even real? Like we saw those trailers, like they didn't show gameplay in the trailers. They're all, cinematic based. And then it comes out and it's like, oh, this is exactly what they advertised. I think that caught people by surprise. I think that's the real surprise for people. Like, this thing is something I can actually play.
That's probably the thing, right? Where like the jankiness and the kind of, this isn't the vaporware version of the day before. I think probably folks went into this looking to hate it.
Yeah, and they're like,
And
oh
we're
shit,
like,
this is a good
oh
game
snap,
here.
this is I kind of like this. Can I,
Yeah.
is this a thing? Maybe that's the real reason that this is popping off in that way, was like the day before launched Palworld into an actual space where people gave a crap because they thinking it was going to be bad.
I mean, that's the blessing and the curse of a game that looks too good to be true. Is something either they are or they're not, and if they are, then they go away like the day before did. And then if they aren't vaporware, then it takes the world by storm. Like it just does that.
I think Casey's point was good though, is that this is coming at a time when Pokemon commercially is still doing just fine, but critically people are like, "What are you guys doing?" Like if Pokemon had their Breath of the Wild moment over the past few years, I feel like Palworld would have came out and everyone would have been like, "But it's not that."
Like this is this is the closest version of revolution in that genre that we've ever had. So folks are like there is a lot of anti-Nintendo sentiment tied to Palworld's growth, because you see it in all the responses. Like because Pokemon has a very fervent fan base. We know this because it sells millions regardless of its quality. But those folks will come and be like, Palworld is evil incarnate, and then folks would be like, no, Nintendo did XYZ, and that's why I love Palworld. Like there's a coalition of folks who are angry over the fact that Pokemon has not evolved. I'm one of them. I'll be honest. I'm one of them. Like I want them to be challenging that way, but like Nintendo's still too big to actually care about this.
We always say we want Pokemon to evolve, but then Call of Duty tried to evolve and everybody said no, please go back. The same thing's gonna happen to Pokemon.
I don't know who said that.
Call of Duty
I didn't say those words.
Call of Duty added all kinds of extra movement
baby.
mechanics, and they're like, no, please stop. You're hurting me. I want back to boots on the ground action.
Well,
that's exactly what they said.
The thing I need them to fix is the damn hit detection on them damn game. I don't care about movement. I care about actually the time to kill not being 2 days. This is a conversation for
play
hardcore.
Only play hardcore.
I know. It's a damn shame.
That's all I do know.
Yep.
But yeah, I think Pokemon like is just it's not broken, don't fix it kind of thing. And then but you know what, Pokemon Violet and Scarlet is fucking broken. Fix your damn performance so I can play that game, please.
But isn't it also super weird too, that everyone is kind of up in arms about the art, right? Like you remove the AI layer, right, and you just talk about the derivative layers of what that is. And I was like, why is this also a problematic thing, right? Like I grew up and we had Transformers, we had GoBots, we had all these other things that were basically the same thing, just with a different skin on it. And when I was never really a part of the Pokemon era because I just missed it. I was too old. I was older when it kind of started. But like Pokemon, Digimon, all the stuff was the same stuff.
Freaking Metabots, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Right.
The video that I'm working on is there's 3 different conversations going on, and they're all twisted up, and people don't even know what they're mad about. One conversation is it plagiarism? And it's not. Like every legal expert is telling you this is not plagiarism.
Also, you know why it's not plagiarism? Because Nintendo didn't come for them.
Yes.
If it was plagiarism,
Nintendo would have been there at their first
modded Pokemon into the game, and like 5 hours later, they came for him.
Yes.
Immediately Nintendo was like, get this out of here.
The second conversation is the AI generation. Somebody's like, they generated their characters with AI, and that blew up on Twitter, and everybody just ran with it. It's like, they must have done that because they made this game called AI Art Imposters, and that was made with AI. And it's like, I'm the video I'm working on. Spoiling the video. Sorry for those of you that want to watch it, but the game was not. Anyway. The game was not made with AI. The game is it's like an Among Us basically clone, where there's an imposter. 4 people are playing. One person's the imposter, and the game's mechanic is using AI to generate the art, and only one person, 3 out of 4 people know what the theme is, and one person does it, and that's how you find out the imposter. That's all it is. It's just using using AI to generate a game mechanic. Yeah, and it's not selling the AI art to anybody. It's literally just type in the thing, use the mechanic. So
people get mad at bots because bots are AI.
Well, people took that and said they must have generated their creatures using AI, and also because they took context quote that one of the concept artists there, like designed most of the creatures, which I mean, like they're simple, they're relatively simple creatures over.
Like this is a lamb. This is a chicken.
And I don't,
wolf.
and I to be perfectly clear, like they have been very open that they were inspired by Pokemon. So I'm betting they had pictures of Pokemon up on their whiteboard and said, "Let's draw that." Like I want people to recognize that creature. The final conversation that's happening is around the CEO, Takuro Mizobi. He did an interview with Wired, and somebody took that interview and popped out one answer where he talked about, I don't care about originality, I just want my game to reach mass market appeal, blah blah blah. And they left out all the context of like this dude went to Nintendo and basically said, no, this isn't for me because every game needs to be like original and introduce new ideas. I just want to make games that have all my favorite things in one game. And that was his thesis about making games.
Finally found the Michael Bay of the video game industry.
Yeah, he's literally the Michael Bay of the games industry. And so VGC and all these other outlets picked up that quote and ran with it. And it's like, this guy just wants to copy everything. And I'm like, if somebody took Call of Duty and merged it with Battlefield, please give it to me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Right? I want more Zelda. Everybody's been wanting more Breath of the Wild in their other games. Mortals Phoenix Rising. People were all over that, and it's
Genshin Impact, biggest hit in the world.
So I mean, like, they're all three of these conversations.
Remember before Genshin came out, there was like it was being shown off at some show. I don't know if it was like a PAX or I don't even know if it was in the US, but there was just a picture of someone at the Genshin booth holding up their Switch with Breath of the Wild and giving the finger to the booth. Just people were like, "How dare you!" And then Genshin came out, and everyone was like, "All right, this is pretty good. We like."
What's funny is the thing you're talking about was Genshin.
Yeah.
They were it was a Chinese convention.
It was a Genshin booth. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Like someone smashed a PS5 over that.
The thing that I keep going back to, and this will definitely get me some hate from the Pokemon crew.
It's all right. They're already mad. It's fine.
There is so much pomp and circumstance happening right now about a goddamn cat with a lightning bolt as a tail. He
is a mouse with lightning on his tail. How dare
that's my point. I'm sorry. That's my point, right? It is so generic that what I want someone to do is to I want someone to do a riff of Palworld, but don't even do the version of giving them unique names. I want it to literally just describe the phenotype, genotype of the animal and be like electric rat, right? Like I would do hot dragon, like just random nonsense. It's like, and then
that's gonna pull up a much different result.
Do not Google hot dragon.
Don't do hot dragon. That's totally different. So, that brings you to the dark web.
Yeah. So all those conversations are happening. News outlets picked up on all those people on Twitter that are literally nobodies, and then later on they go back to their threads like, well, this isn't exactly a copy. Yeah, it's just, I didn't mean to say it like that. And then one of them went back and was like, yeah, I'm only posting this because I'm against animal abuse and Palworld abuse animals. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Why are we reporting on these things? Like, who are these people?
Mario has killed so many turtles in his life.
Nobody's mad.
Mario throws turtles at cars. Like,
yeah.
What are you doing?
Nobody's mad.
It's I think this is one of those things where, like, I can't not put some of the blame on games media for this, for picking up these random Twitter users, and VGC was a source on this. I love VGC, and I'm really annoyed that they did this, because then all these other outlets picked up that same story from VGC and kept running with it, and the story keeps going, and it's like, you get on Twitter now to even discuss this thing, it's like, you're defending AI. Is like, I'm just giving you context on what stupid shit's being said about this, because like, you really think
all the problems are rolled into one because games media covered it, because the media landscape as a whole is on fucking fire.
Well, yeah,
that's because everything is beholden to an algorithm that could change with a slight breeze. And so people and outlets are losing people left and right, either because they're being fucking let go, entire outlets are being closed, or people are like, I don't want to be in this industry anymore because it's too volatile. I'm gonna go do literally anything else in my life. And so I get it, to like chase that thing, to be like, everyone's talking about Palworld, you need to put up 10 Palworld stories. This dude's proved that they stole from Palworld. Fucking put it up. Because if you don't do it, the next site's going to. You're not gonna get aggregated. Like
it's all connected. It is all connected.
Oh no, like I'm not like I said, it's that's the nature of media in general right now, is get the story out first, ask questions later. Like that, and it's broken. The entire system's broken, and it's corporate media. Like, we just escaped that shit. So I'm not like, not saying like VGC is the culprit on the problem. It's just saying that's where these stories originated, using those sources, and everybody use the same sources instead of, like, I don't know, the first story's out, maybe take some extra time and do the research. Maybe you'll get more clicks that way. I don't know, but
I mean, it would also be nice if
you won't.
No, you definitely won't. And it would also be nice, again, like, if we didn't share stupid. Like, that's the foundational part of all of this, is right.
Thank you so much
for
saying that.
Don't share stupid. Yeah.
Then like
don't hate share stuff either. Like, if you come across a thing that's like, that is insanity, I can't believe this person said that, they go take it and they go show it to all their friends. I hate that this thing was said. Look at this thing that was said, so you can also hate it. Don't give it energy. Leave it where you found it.
I am human, right? And I understand why that happens. I fall into it too. I am not fallible. There are things that happen around racism, or things that people say that I'm just like, oh, because also that's a thing that is a conversation that is continuing to happen, that has actual detriment to actual human beings. In the grand scheme of all of this, if Palworld is the bastion of AI generated art in a video game that is now selling a ton of money, then we all have a lot of stuff to be, worried about, like you said, right? And in the same breath, there are so many other things that are happening in games, outside of games, that deserve more attention, that deserve more eyes, that deserve stuff like the Spawnies, but that deserve that kind of space to be able to talk about those things. But we spend so much time on the dumb shit, and it's like, okay, I mean, it's a part of, and again, like Nick, I think one of the things that we've talked about behind the scenes all the time is, like, in a space in which we know that the algorithm is doing what it does, we know how SEO works, we know how all those things are, and we always talk about, as a group, folks who work in this space, man, we really wish that the stories of things that were good would get bubbled up.
And they
but
never
it doesn't work if you don't share it.
Yep.
Like, even if you flip this conversation into a space that is like, this one person, or I don't forget how many people are in this development team, but this Japanese game from a Japanese team that no one knew about until they put up their first stuff, is now one of the biggest selling games on the planet. Those folks, hopefully, are financially set for the rest of their lives to be able to do and make whatever they want. That's a success story in a video game industry that's had very few good things to talk about in the past 2 to 5 years. But we have decided that the thing that we want to talk about is the fact that potentially someone made something in a way that feels nefarious, in a way that people don't like, that they're not going to use anyway. So it's just a weird layer of stuff.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. So that's why I'm doing a video to basically provide the context. So, like, here's what you think you're mad about. There's not really a lot there to be mad about. Like, I'm like, the core thesis of my. Go ahead. Yeah, I was gonna say the core thesis of my video is, like, this is if you're a consumer and plan on buying Palworld, I'd be more worried about if they're actually going to finish the game, because they have 3 games in early access now, and they haven't finished a single one of them. Like, that's the real concern for me. Like, if Nintendo wants to sue them, then okay, great. I played their game and they're gonna have to change their art. Okay.
Here's what's gonna happen in 6 months. All of this energy is gonna go away, and then everyone who was super invested is gonna be mad at the developer for dumping the project because they didn't have enough resources, or they didn't do the staffing up that they were supposed to do to make a game like this actually last. And then they'll get backlash from the audience and from the industry for basically making a thing that people got excited about and then took the money and ran. This is exactly what's going to happen, because it's happened before. So, like, mark that down, set it now. in January. Come back to me in June, and then we'll talk about what that looks like and see where it landed. But
I feel like everybody forgot this thing's on Game Pass too, and I'm pretty sure Microsoft's lawyers probably looked at this thing all over to make sure we're not going to get sued for putting this on Game Pass.
1,000%.
That's just me. That's just my my critical thinking brain working around a big corporation putting their name behind a product.
Marty, you had something you were going to say. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
It was mostly just people who spend like 24 hours a day just getting mad on Twitter and dunking on stuff. They need more group threads. I'm telling you, the cure to all of this is group threads. In the past 24 hours, I've gone to my group threads to express my opinions about how the 69th pal in Palworld is like a horny dragon.
Yes.
I've expressed my opinions about the Oscars. I've expressed my opinions about Doc Rivers becoming the coach of the Bucks. Negative. Those opinions are negative. I'm negative on all these things. But I go there. So I'm like, let me just dunk here, because I don't need to like dunk on someone who's like, I'm glad Ryan Gosling got nominated. I'm not gonna go in there and yell at them that Ryan Gosling didn't deserve to get nominated.
Oh man.
I know chat's like, where are we on Twitter? Why are we paying attention to Twitter? I address that in my video too, chat. I'm like, you're here listening to this conversation. No, you're here. You're here listening to this conversation, so you clearly care too and want to know about it. Yeah, that's why we're on Twitter. Like you're invested.
It's a part of the way that, again, a lot of the stuff that for folks who were asking that question, a ton of the information that you get in your daily gaming life comes from those spaces. Like, as much as people will get on there every morning and be like, this hellscape of a website.
I'm gonna leave. I come back.
I was like, fam, you ain't leaving. Go to my Blue Sky. I was like, nah, you're gonna say the same shit on Blue Sky. but it's a space, right? I think the beauty of what X and Twitter have still continued to be is that it is really still a good space to find the scuttlebutt of the day. Like I've not been on a forum in God knows how long, right? Like those days are gone for me. Mm-hmm. I'm not on Reddit because Reddit just feels very disconnected in a much bigger way. But like,
it's a different energy over there.
Yeah, the energy is very, very different. But I think the reason why you see all of this stuff continue to be what it is like there's still value here. Like I wouldn't be able to do my work if it wasn't for social media in the ways that we currently have.
Super valuable responses when I give a guy some details about the Palworld thing, and I get told to take that AI generated cock out of my mouth.
I'm sorry, that's funny though.
It was funny.
Yeah, that's why I'm never leaving Twitter.
It was funny. That's why I shared it. I was like, that's kind of funny.
That's pretty good. I've had somebody tell me that my favorite thing
too many fingers, huh?
All these extra veins. Anyway,
I never get mad when somebody's a dick to me on Twitter because I'm like, this was funny. You're dumb, but you're funny.
Yeah, I got one the other day that made me laugh really hard that I had to share it. It was a dude was like, "Oh yeah, you're an Xbox lover because you're black and bald." And I was like,
"What?"
I looked at my phone in wild just like amazement. I was like, "Wow, that's the life of an Xbox fanboy now."
Well, that's
it. I mean, me and George Foreman, Xbox.
George Foreman, Michael Jordan, now Xbox fanboys.
The fucking Steve Harvey.
Michael Jordan can't
Steve
wait
Harvey.
for Avowed.
I really want to hear what Steve Harvey has to say about Senua's about Hellblade 2. I really want to know.
This is a new series.
I'm going to do it now. I got to do it. Please support independent media. Help me make the black and bald Xbox cast. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
We know what we'll make for your ZP character.
Oh, that's it.
There you go.
Got an Xbox tucked under your arm and a girl in the other arm.
Perfect. Oh, grill. I thought you said a girl. And I was like,
oh, a grill.
What's going on with this character?
Totally different game.
Oh, no.
Way different game. Before we move on to stuff we've been playing, stuff we've been watching, actually stuff we've been enjoying. I'm gonna go over a couple of super chats real quick. SDD. I'm pretty sure I just said STD. SDD.
I gotta get checked for AI cock generations.
SDD gave support over in Ko-Fi. Thank you so much, SDD.
Thank you.
And then Ritvik with a $5 dono. Thank you so much from the top of the show. Not sure if this has been mentioned, but will Stratos be making a comeback in any way? Either way, keep up the good work.
Well, we don't know. Stratos was the sci-fi spin-off channel that we got asked to open under the Escapists, and then promptly told this isn't worth doing, and then so no. Much like the much requested 3MR channel by executives that also they shut down and threw away.
Nick's not bitter. Don't worry. Nick's not bitter. Don't worry, guys. No one's saying
my
Nick
best
is bitter.
work was on that channel that got destroyed and deleted from the internet. So I'm not bitter at all.
If you liked videos by folks like Javed Goodblood,
can't find him anymore. Sorry.
No, you'll be seeing videos by Javed on Second Wind soon because he's one of our full-time employees. And so, if you've liked any of our branding, that's been Javed, and just wait until his videos come out. They're gonna be great.
So
King Dad with a $2 dono. Thank you so much, King Dad. How does Spawn on Me relate to the '97 movie Spawn? What are your thoughts on Spawn in general?
Spawn is awesome. I mean, John Leguizamo.
Oh my god, is that Fat Clown? That was great.
Michael Jai White. Fat Clown.
Yeah,
super dope.
Early black representation.
That was Michael Jai White, right?
That was Michael Jai White. Yeah,
Michael Jai White. Again, Black Dynamite. So that automatically spawned on me. I love that. I actually really do like that movie. That was like a really good cult classic movie.
It's batshit. Yeah, it's
that CG cape was ahead of its time.
1,000%.
We just talked about Spawn right before we went live too, because we were talking about the weird
Soul Calibur. Yeah.
Soul Calibur.
Oh yeah.
GameCube had Link, PS2 had Hihachi, and Xbox had Spawn. I think because he was like black and green. He's not even black and green. He's black and
red.
Yeah, he like red.
There's probably green Spawn.
Black and white.
For like
he had green. He had green smoke.
He had green smoke.
Green smoke. The green ethereal eyes.
Yeah. He probably had green smoke. Yeah.
Everybody on that movie definitely has some green smoke.
I'll play a 700-pound evil clown. Sounds great.
Oh yeah.
Zalno with a $5 dono. Thank you so much. If anything, I hoped Palworld elevates the non-Pokemon monster taming games that are actually good, like Cassette Beast and the upcoming Beastie Ball. That's the thing. There are a bunch of neat games. There's Koromon, there's Temtem, there's Cassette Beast, there's Monster Sanctuary, there's that Moonstone Island. None of those count. Casey's giving a big old
Monster Sanctuary. I like. The rest of them were just very close copies of Pokemon, and I think they're bad. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Maybe you just don't like Pokemon.
I don't. I said this already.
Oh, there's Amy with Nexomon. Amy's favorite one.
I love it.
Yeah, Amy with Nexomon.
Alexander McWilliams asked whatever happened to Temtem. They're still updating it. They're promoting their next season right now.
Updates take time.
Sure.
I'm surprised. If there's one game that I thought might get hit with some copyright stuff, is Temtem's music, because that shit is literally
their
Pokemon
music was super close.
Close. Oh yeah,
that's funny.
I'm watching a great video essay by this dude named Geno7, who is an incredible channel. Highly recommend everyone check it out. But he's he makes essays about games, but he's a musician, and he has one video about the music in Wario Land 4, which is like, oh my god, this game has like the craziest sound design I've ever heard in a game, and he goes into it, and it's true. And his most recent one is about the music that inspired Mother, the Earthbound series, and that is a series that I think the reason Nintendo doesn't want to release Mother 3 or really go back to Earthbound is because they realize they will get sued by everyone because they stole their music from everyone. And it's not just like underground people, it's like the Beatles and the Beach Boys.
Yeah, I'd heard of that about Beatle covers or something tied to the Mother series.
Yeah.
Maybe that's Palworld saving grace. They're like, oh, if we see this, they're coming after us for Mother.
Yeah. It's
Palworld. They secretly own the rights to the Beatles catalog.
Mutually destruction. It's beautiful.
They just bought it with their $190 million they made with Palworld so that they can push back at Nintendo.
And then a $5 dono from our good friend Fat Cock. Fat Cock, welcome. It's a cock.
Is that AI? Is it an AI cock?
It is. We gotta check the veins. $5 dono. I for one welcome our new machine overlords. Thank you so much, Fat Cock. Brad with a $5 dono. Coming from a related technical background, part of the problem about talking about quote AI is that it's a marketing term, not a technical term.
Yeah, this whole AI generate AI shit is gonna go the same way that NFTs and all that just went. It's a new fad for people looking to get rich quick. I don't
Yep.
Yeah. Also, the day before had AI art in it, and it was fucking funny.
I mean, and there's also like, large language models of a whole bunch of different pieces that go along with stuff that is actually super useful. Like people front like all of this is all in the same bucket, but like Notion pulling in stuff that, when you need to take notes for certain things. There's a lot of integrations, but anyway.
Yeah. Like you said,
it's a tool.
Yeah, a lot of indie devs I know like use it to basically generate concept art, and then they take that art to inspire them to make their own art from it. So I mean, like it has its uses. I think it's just when you try to monetize it, like that's when it becomes the big problem.
Yeah. When you don't add anything to what, like it's not aiding you, like you're trying to take whatever it is doing and turn that into a product. That is the problem.
Yeah,
like if you use a
very
hammer
talented
on a nail,
AI
it's
movie
fine.
makers.
If you use a hammer on a human, that's probably bad. You're probably gonna get in trouble for that. unless you're old boy, because that dude's cool. B Smarch, $2 dono. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening to you, B Smarch. And Prinny Dude with a $10 dono. Thank you so much. All those donations now going towards Adventures Night Season 4 on location in Detroit. In DC.
Detroit.
You guys are going to Detroit now.
Right.
Yeah, the Super Bowl parade.
I certainly hope not.
Pretty Dude, thank you so much for the dono. AI is only bad when it's in something people don't like. For example, Square is releasing Rebirth soon, and they have stated that they use AI in foam stars, that people will still support them regardless. Hypocrisy. That was me reading it. I'm absolutely supporting Final Fantasy. You can't stop me from supporting Final Fantasy.
Foam Stars is actually really fun too. People are going to front on Foam Stars.
I think Foam Stars is going to be like a legit hit. The launching on
Nintendo should sue them
Plus
for that
is
too.
a little.
Yeah, but I pointed that out.
Ain't it?
Yeah, I was going to point that out on Twitter.
I mean, Ibiza.
Foam Stars meet Splatoon. Like, what do we?
Are we going to get sued by anybody? It would be Ibiza. That's where all the foam parties happen.
That's where all the foam.
I'm super curious to see if we have the same conversation a week from now when Foam Stars comes out.
Someone's going to bring it back up. Someone's going to bubble it back up for sure.
Yeah.
Was bubble it back up? Was that a Foam Stars? Was that a little foam goof? Foam goofs.
Yeah.
Mog in the chat asked a question. Do you think generative AIs would ever be used for RPG games or something like that? I've seen some rudimentary integrations of it into games. I mean, I don't like. In the conversations that I've heard developers talk and like reading forums and Reddit game dev and everything, like some of them do use it for like NPC dialogue, because like who needs to write like all kinds of like generic like how was your day dialogue into the game, if you're making a game with a team of 3 people, and like where are you going to put your budget, right? And like there was one thread I read today that like was basically like people can be as mad as they want about using generative AI, but like it's up to the developers how they're going to spend their money and use their budget. And if they decide to use it, like it's up to you to support that game or not. And that's kind of the answer.
And 2 parts of that, like even the most interesting version that I just saw came out of CES with NVIDIA, and you talking to the NPC, and the NPC basically, talking back to you and giving you other stuff in that way. So that's an interesting layer that is going to potentially be a thing that you see. And like we just talked about in the early parts of the thing, only thing that's going to happen is that the technology is going to get so good that you won't be able to figure out what it is, and people are just going to tell you that's in there. Yeah, it's going to just be a part of the way it works, and then just no one's going to say it.
It's like auto-tune in the music industry.
Yeah, like none of the stuff that like all the middleware stuff that you see at the beginning of a game, Fmod and all, not Fmod, but like all the stuff that wanted to be in there, it'll be that. It'll just be a thing, and they just won't tell you that's AI stuff.
Yeah, you'll just be hitting the X button. Oh, you go like, let me just jam through this. I don't want to see these logos.
1,000%.
You just wait. It's gonna come out, and it's gonna be like, both Baldur's Gate 3 and Tears of the Kingdom used AI. Everyone on the internet's gonna be like, no, you were the chosen ones.
And then you're gonna say, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna buy it? You're gonna buy it anyway. So don't front.
I'm still buy it. Nintendo, you're fine. Nintendo, you're fine. Lifetime pass. You made Donkey Kong. You're good.
Right? Oh, did I tell you? Donkey Kong, he's AI.
Don't.
Oh no.
He's got 2 ties. You're like, what's going on? Why do you have 2 ties?
Marty, all your dungeons in Zelda are gonna be generated by AI someday.
These bananas have extra fingers.
I don't want to hear about this. Kyle, is there anything you've been playing lately that has stuck out to you? Anything you could talk about? I'm sure you're bargoed up on certain stuff, but
man, Bargo's
tickling your fancy.
I'm playing something not weird, but something that is a little bit off book for me. I'm playing a ton of Predecessor, the Paragon remake. So I'm playing a ton of that, screaming at everybody for not knowing how to lane properly. I'm playing that a bunch. Excited about of course, excited about Tekken. I'm a big fighting game fan. I'm hyped for that kind of stuff. Playing a ton of MK1, so I'm doing that on a nightly basis. I haven't found that game yet that is my my go to bed game like I used to have. Because there's like a thing that you would usually play right before then.
What did it used to be?
I used to play a lot of horror games right before bed.
That sounds like a bad idea.
Just love having nightmares.
I'm a weirdo anyway because I love like super gory
Twitter's
horror
not scary
movies.
enough. I need horror games.
Where are these veins coming from? But like like I play stuff like what was I playing before? I don't know. I play a varied amount of things that are like short bursty games, but Predecessor right now is the thing that I'm waiting for. That's also still in early access and waiting for that to come out. Prince of Persia, been jumping in and out of that a ton. I still play Call of Duty and get some games into that before going to bed and stuff. So it's like anything that is competitive, I will try to kind of get a couple of games in before going. That's probably the worst thing you can do because you're spiking your adrenaline up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need
Especially
to feel like
losing.
Salt makes you sleepy real quick. Yeah. Taking my ass to sleep. I don't want to see the stuff I haven't done.
And I tried one round of Predecessor. I got my ass handed to me. I said, I'm done with this.
Yeah, I will teach you. I need more people to play Predecessor.
I tried like half a chat. I remember when I had like a 2-week span, like tried Dota. And I like slightly was like, oh, I kind of like this. And then I got into like the real matches. Like, I don't like this at all.
Love it.
Is there anything on the horizon that you think might be like what's your thing? What do you think is going to be your big thing this year? Like, even like you're talking about Call of Duty. Like, is there any like upcoming multiplayer things? Like, are you looking at Marathon and being like, ooh, that might be for me?
I really do want to know what that thing is. Like, I'm dying. Like, I thought the finals was going to be it, and then it wasn't. So I was kind of really disappointed with the finals, and it had nothing to do with the AI stuff. It was more about the actual way the game plays. But like really excited for the Hellblade 2 stuff that's going to be dropping soon. Like,
hell yeah.
I'm actually really excited for the new WWE 2K24.
Really?
I mean, I love wrestling. I've been a big wrestling fan forever. I think that game is getting a lot better, even though it has a ton of faults in it. There's a game that is not getting a lot of press right now, but I really want to know more about Nightingale. That game is dope.
Yeah. That'll be another big hit on release. Another big survival crafting. Yeah.
So that's something I'm really excited for. I'm like, man, give me some more info on that kind of stuff.
And IGN just did a big preview on it. Go watch that. Yeah.
Oh,
like a 15-minute preview.
Oh, damn! I need to go watch that.
Yeah.
And I really did get excited about a lot of the stuff that's coming out from, the developer direct that we had from Xbox the other day. There's some PlayStation games, some that I worked on and some that I didn't, that are going to be coming out that are exciting to see where they're going to land with those things. They're supposed to be coming out this year, or at least hopefully sometime in the next year and a half, 2 years.
We did a live watch along to the developer direct, and I think it's really cool. I think they've like nailed that format.
Yeah,
like that format is like super fucking cool. And so big fan of that. The games are cool, and I like starting the year off with that and being like, oh, this is like a little like taste of what we're gonna get this year. And there's all the scuttlebutt online that Sony's going to be putting on a state of play at some point in the near future. Like a bunch of stuff's kind of leaking, and so everyone thinks that's coming soon. Nintendo always does a big February direct, and maybe we'll see the next Switch there. So it's cool to kick the year off not only with like a bunch of games, like big and small, indie and AAA, but then also like getting a little roadmap for what's going on over the next 3 months, 6 months, year. Like,
yeah, 1000%. It's going to be again another good year for games. Like, I don't think that we're gonna be in a space where we're in a drought like we did a couple of years ago. We were like, man, I really wish I could play, and there's something really good. There's all these small pockets of fun stuff, and then we're gonna get some surprises. I feel like it has to happen. There hasn't been a year where we haven't.
There's still a ton of developers that were like, what are they working on? Or even like the Wonder Woman game that Monolith's working on, being like, what is that game? Because you showed it to us like 4 years ago, and like it kind of like indie, where it's like, oh, we've known about this for like 3 years, but now we know about it. And I feel like we're getting close to that point with like IO's James Bond game, with the Wonder Woman game, with
Perfect Dark still hasn't said anything. Like,
yeah, absolutely. With what this next BioShock game might be like.
Oh yeah. Oh man, yeah. There's a lot of stuff. I'm just Excited to see what's dropping. I'm hyped for the state of where the industry is from a game perspective, and I think, every time I wake up and see something new, I still get those like dope butterflies of like, man, I remember when this was 2 pixels on the screen in a little box going back and forth. Like I was
100%.
there when seeing that stuff, and now we get a
100%.
chance to see all the cool stuff.
Yeah. Casey, what are you even playing? Watch anything good?
I did start that new Netflix series talking about algorithms and AI, etc. The Brothers Swin, right? Like has stars Michelle Yeoh and two guys I have never seen in anything else before, but I've watched like the first 2-3 episodes. It's great so far. It honestly feels like an early Netflix series in that sort of it doesn't have that weird house style that some of the recent like bigger budget movies seem to have. Like that Kevin Hart movie Lift came out recently, and that is like the brightest movie I've ever seen in my life. I don't know what the hell happened there, but it's just so bright. Every single scene is bright as shit. But the Brother's Son is like, it feels a little more like, it reminds me of like a lower budget Daredevil almost, because like his action scenes are actually very well choreographed. Like they're like real gritty and down to earth, but like it's funny. The conceit is really cool. Like essentially this this Taiwanese crime family essentially has to go and collect the other half of their family because the mother and a younger brother have been hiding out in America for like years and years and years. And now that some big shit has gone down, the son is leaving to go and basically get them and like protect them. But then all of that is chasing him to America. And so like the mom, Michelle Yeoh, who is like, she's been living kind of a suburban life, but she's like down for the cause and is very doughy, completely does not know anything about his family history. Like college age kid is now finding out about his family history, like seeing all this death and destruction, and like, okay, I'm part of the mob now. Like it's really funny and entertaining to kind of see that dynamic. And it also has like really cool heartfelt things because like the brothers don't know each other. Like they were together when they were like really little, and now like they're being reintroduced to one another. And like it's that sort of, all right, we're supposed to be family, but we're very different people. And like, how do we find that middle ground between us? So like I'm enjoying all parts of it as of right now. Hopefully it doesn't end on like a weird cliffhanger thing, because I'm worried something like that won't get like a bunch of seasons.
Netflix has never killed someone too early.
Right.
Yeah. What do you possibly have to worry about? By the way, we are out of money because we bought wrestling. So sorry.
Oh God, yeah, that happened.
Charge you
more. Like I knew I couldn't trust The Rock coming back. Like that just seems fishy.
They were like, "Oh, we don't have money to pay this dude."
That is the head of the table. We know now.
And outside of no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna make a dumb Zack Snyder joke. You saved me. Thank you.
Then outside of that, like I've because I'm gonna be working on a video for it, but I went back to Wanted Dead. That game is still as ridiculous as I remember. Like it is so bad and good. Like it's breaking my brain the more I think about it. And like every time I go back and think about it, I'm like, I have more to say about it. I'm close to 800 words on the script I've been writing. I've been writing the script for like 3 days. I know I'm nowhere near finished, so I'm worried that this video is going to be way too fucking long because there's so much that I just have pent up about.
You got to have the karaoke interlude halfway through.
True.
Like that's in the script right now. That's in the script right now.
I love it.
But like I'll spoil a little bit of the video because I wrote about this previously as well. But the thing that really like hooked me initially and then kind of built the rest of my love for this game around it was the meta mechanic of its combat, because like it has a very, very basic surface level combat system where it's a third person shooter, but then you can hit the button out of aim down sights and actually swing the sword, and then swinging the sword with a specific timing plus pressing the Y button will throw pistol shots into the middle of your combo. So like mixing up that timing gives you slightly different combos, but there's not a lot there. But then there's the special, which then turns every single person in the room into like a blinking state, which lets you do executions, right?
Oh.
So you have, and the thing about it is like when you hit the execution button, anyone within your line of sight that is blinking and vulnerable will be executed. Like the main character will fly halfway across the room or shoot halfway across the room, and she will just kill upwards of 8, 10, 12 people in the room that you've managed to line up into like this perfect cacophony of vulnerability. And like, so the game turns into like this kind of meta game where like, I don't care about the fight. I care about making this chain as big as possible. So I'm going to do just enough to get everyone in this room blinking, fire off that big special so that I get whoever else I haven't touched yet, and then watch like my reward, which is just this super long train of kill animations play out. And like, I'm addicted to that.
That's cool.
And then you get to that second boss fight, and he's a pain in the ass, and I hate him. I dropped the game there, Casey.
It got filtered. It got filtered, dude.
I couldn't do it.
No,
it just pissed me off.
It's not the best designed game in the world.
It's horribly designed. I get the appeal. I get the appeal, but man, there's
something there.
That game plays like the original Ninja Gaiden, and I tried to play that, and I hated that too.
Oh yeah,
you are absolutely. You and Jacob Geller are on the ground floor of Wanted Dead Was Always Good. 10 years from now, people are going to go back to the two of you and be like, these were the only ones who got it in 2020. Yeah. Everyone else didn't know what we had. It's just like God Hand. It's going to be one of those games. 10 years later, people are going to come back to it.
Yeah, I hope something else comes from Soliel, because I think on one, the next thing could be equally as insane, because this game should not exist, honestly. The stuff they put into it does not make sense, and they did it on purpose. I feel like truly, like, you don't get this by accident.
None of that. I mean, like playing that game feels like I'm playing Ninja Gaiden, Persona, and like John Wick all at the same time.
Yeah, they were just like Palworld, where they're like, these are all the things we like, just put them all in the game. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's literally what they did. Yeah. KC, the man of many tastes, including Wanted Dead and Palworld, doesn't know if they're any good or not, but he still likes them.
No, I know that they're bad, but they're also good. It's all right. We can have both. But that's pretty much
Wanted Dead and Humanity in 2023. So
that says I just sold them on Wanted Dead.
I will preface this. That game is not for everybody. Don't be mad at me if you're like, this is actually garbage, because you're probably right.
If you can get past the first mission, you'll probably end up sticking with the game. I got past the first mission and I was like, okay, what's going on? This is weird. I kind of have to just keep seeing where this is going. That first mission is terrible. Terrible introduction to the game, Casey.
It's not great.
It's on purpose.
It's horrible.
I don't think it's on purpose either.
You need to. I mean, it's like most games, right? Where like the combat doesn't really reveal itself until you unlock some more moves and stuff.
It's also weird combat. Like it is. You need to like reprogram your head because it doesn't play like other.
But that first mission goes on forever.
It is a long mission.
Yeah, it's pretty lengthy. Yeah.
It's not fun.
Now I gotta go play this tonight. I gotta go back in.
Yeah, give it a shot.
I gotta go back in. I played a little bit of it, and then I gotta go back into it. Yeah.
Still at the station. Yeah. Nick, what have you been playing outside of the first level and a half of Wanted Dead?
I've been playing a lot of Infinite Wealth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Really like it. I mean, I really like to Like a Dragon. So this is scratching all of that. The story is finally getting to the interesting stuff, and I'm like 8 chapters in. Like, there's always a part in Yakuza where like it's kind of bullshitting itself all the way up until a certain point, and then the shoe drops, and then it gets really like dramatic and like tension and all that kind of stuff. And I've kind of hit that point finally where like I'm in like the part that I guess I really like, where like the crime syndicate stuff and all that. So yeah, I'm still really enjoying it. I was actually thought about maybe doing a video, but I don't think it's enough content to do a video for a bite size. But basically, they added a feature in that I freaking love in Infinite Wealth, and like every JRPG needs it going forward. Is once you level up enough, there's enemies that like turn blue, and you just run up to them. You click
hold L2, and it just beats the shit out of all of them.
Yep. You just say click beat the shit out of them, and then you keep going on your way. And I'm like, this is great. I can just grind and I can click this button.
This is the most I've ever agreed with you on anything. Years we've worked together.
Yes.
Persona. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but Persona does that eventually. Where you level up enough to where you just literally, and it's so cool and stylish when Joker does it, because he like fucking he like cuts through all the enemies and they're there in slow motion, and then they do the thing where like their top halves like fall off. You just win the battle. Earthbound does the same thing. Yeah, it's sick as hell.
Yeah, and I like unlocked the surfboard Ichiban. And let me tell you, doing that automatic beat the shit out of them button with a surfboard with jet engines on the back of it is fucking hilarious.
Feels good. Yeah. Feels real good. Yeah.
So I've been enjoying that, and then I weirdly enough, Palworld has awakened something in me. I was like, I just want to play a
69th Palworld.
I want to play. I just want to play a game that I can turn my brain off a little bit before I go to bed, like Farm Sim or something like that. And I've never been able to get in the Stardew Valley. I don't know why. I just have never been able to. Like, I've been thinking about playing maybe Animal Crossing, but I was like, but the one game that's been in my library for years now that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna finally try it. Is Kinseed, that game from former Fable developers. Heavily pixel art, and it's a life sim, and like your characters age as you play, so eventually they die and you move on to your next generation of family as your new set of characters. I opened it up last night thinking like I'm only gonna play this for like an hour. I ended up playing it for like 3 hours. Nice. And the dialogue at the immediate start of the game hooked me. Like that Fable writing was right there, and I was like, okay, there's something here. And then I just kept playing, and like the discovery aspect is really good. Like there's turn-based combat in it, which I really enjoyed. So I definitely plan on, at least I'll probably stream that for the editor's backlog next week, as a game that's like, this surprised me. Like I knew I was interested in it, but I didn't know how interested I'd be in it.
Nice.
Yeah, remember they came out at the end of the year a few years ago. I think the end of 2022.
Yeah, it was in early access for quite a while, and then finally hit 1.0, and they're still updating it. So,
hell yeah.
But awesome. Yeah, like if you wanted to know where like the former Fable devs went, like the goofy like British humor is all in there.
Nice.
So, highly recommend that. But yeah, still watching.
Peter Molyneux's up to. Do you think he's playing Palworld?
I think he's trapped in that cube.
He just
he still hasn't gotten out of that cube.
He finally just delisted Goddess. No. What do you make?
R.I.P.
Goddess. Yeah, Goddess and Goddess Wars.
Jeez.
Are you trying to say God of War, but you just had The Last of Us?
No. He literally he was like making Goddess, and then he's like, I'm tired of making this, so I'm gonna make a little multiplayer version of it called Goddess Wars, and nobody played it.
What a time to be alive.
It's still in my Steam library, but you can't buy it anymore.
Shout out to Peter Molyneux. I hope you're doing well out there. I hope you got those big ideas.
Yep.
But yeah, just catching up. Still watching Yellowstone. I'm like halfway through season 3.
How's Kevin Costner doing? He's doing all right.
He's doing all right. Yeah, he runs that show.
You ever see The Bodyguard? The movie The Bodyguard?
No, there's a Netflix series called The Bodyguard too. Of like
talking about The Bodyguard.
Ooh. Yeah, I think that's a different Bodyguard.
What a movie!
That is the movie.
The Netflix show is pretty good too.
Also, I'm sorry, I just really want to talk about The Bodyguard, and I've never found a place to do this. Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston.
Didn't they? I saw a thing that said that when Whitney Houston died, Kevin Costner essentially said that he admitted that he was like in love with her. And he was like married the whole time.
Oh, and you're like, oh yeah, I get it, dude. Yeah, totally. I completely understand. Also, Same. Bodyguard, written by Lawrence Kasdan, the writer of The Empire Strikes Back.
Get out of here! What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Lawrence Kasdan. Who knew he was a little horn dog?
Wow. He just wants love.
What do you mean? He had the sister kissings in Empire.
You got his sister kissings. He's like, no, I need to get Kevin and Whitney together. I've been dreaming about this. I need to write something with the two of them right there.
I gotta make them fall in love.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of Netflix, KC? What's your read on Kahlief? I don't know. Maybe Marty. I guess you've all watched Avatar Airbender. Like, what did you think of that trailer?
Oh, that trailer.
I thought that looked way better than I was expecting it to.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. The M. Night Shyamalan, like the first trailer looked good as hell.
Really good.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
And then the movie came out and was like, But at the very least, the combat in this, it looks like they actually tried at the very least. And I will say, like the way it's framed, and this just could just be like my nostalgia. Like something did move in me. Like when I was seeing like, the scenes kind of brought together in like a different format.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, maybe this will be good. But I gotta be honest, I just want more animated Avatar. Like I don't want this really. I'll watch it, but I really just want more animated Avatar.
The only thing that bugged me about that trailer was the actors seemed very stilted. It might have just been the trailer.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about that because we're coming off One Piece, where I thought the actors were so charming. And like I love the chemistry. Like that won me over, even not having watched the anime. So I feel like it's going to be in the shadow of that.
Yeah, Aang literally sounds like a baby.
He's supposed to be like a little kid. He's like 12 or something.
Is he?
I think it's like that kid is like an actual trained martial artist. I think that's part of it, right? Like they didn't get like a child actor; they got like a martial artist. So
that's cool.
Maybe he'll grow into the role.
Yeah, it usually takes a little
Daniel
bit.
Radcliffe was mad awkward when he started as Harry Potter.
All three of those kids. What's wrong with all you?
Yeah, I mean, it might have just been a me thing. I couldn't remember how old they were in the show, but
he was like a little baby.
Yeah, he was
not like a
like
baby.
12
He was like
when he comes out of the ice.
Yeah,
or
he's 12.
112.
112.
He's well actually yourself.
just to beat anybody who's good at doing.
Yeah, that's good. I've been watching True Detective, the new season, Night Country.
How is it? Super good?
Ooh, it's good. It's good. I was a huge fan of season 1. Season 2 is like one of the weirdest and worst things ever made. Back in season 3 with Mahershala, and then this one's doing it for me. I like Alaska in the middle of the winter, where it's 30 days a night. Great setting, great sense of place. Jodie Foster just batting 1,000. Like I miss Jodie Foster. I think we forget that Jodie Foster is like one of the goats. And she's pretty much just playing like an older Clarice Starling. Like she's just pretending it's just her from Silence of the Lambs, like all old and grizzled and like a Minnesota Vikings fan, which is great.
Probably on purpose.
Love it.
And then it's all written and directed by Issa Lopez, who did this this Mexican filmmaker who did this incredible movie called Tigers Are Not Afraid, a horror movie like 5 years ago, and she's super cool. So things are great. It's only 5 episodes, so I'm like, great. You're gonna be out of my life in a month. This is perfect. I love it. So I've been really digging it. 2 episodes in. And then, like Nick mentioned, also playing more Like a Dragon, trying to finish it before Persona 3 Reload comes out, knowing I'm probably not going to because I'm taking my sweet-ass time and just doing all the side quests because I love Ichiban and I never want to leave him. But yeah, I wrote a piece. I linked it earlier, but it's here. Column, my impressions about the game. This one's open to everyone. It's not locked behind the $5 paywall, so y'all can check out why I can't stop doing side quests in that game.
Nice. Masters of the Air drops in 2 days as well.
You need to watch it. You're legally not allowed to watch it unless you've watched Band of Brothers beforehand. HBO is gonna give you a little quiz beforehand. See,
they're not even connected.
Which of these members from Friends were in there? What are you talking about? Say more.
Yeah, isn't it the same?
But not WW2CU.
It's the multiverse of World War II. There's the same characters.
Funny.
I rewatched. We're almost done with this. I rewatched Killers of the Flower Moon, and at one point, Leonardo DiCaprio gets in some trouble, and a law officer is sent after him, and he was sent after him by J. Edgar Hoover, who Leo also played in a movie. And so I like to think that he's like Kang, and there's just a bunch of Leos out there trying to fuck each other over. But yeah, that was my thought. Yeah, you guys, we can wrap things up there. It was incredible of you to join us today. Where can folks find you? What should folks know about the Spawnies? How can folks support you?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I had
we have a
hell of a
here.
blast tonight.
Yeah.
It was super, super fun to be able to rock with y'all finally. Spawn Me drops usually every Mondays, like 6 a.m. for the folks on the East Coast, now that I'm on the West Coast. So please check us out on all the podcast platforms out in the world, especially on Spotify, because that's where you get to see the video versions of our show. I kind of fell off the YouTube version of it, so I put them up on Spotify. So we do our show weekly on Thursday evenings around 6 p.m. PST. You can check us out at twitch.tv/SpawnOnMe to go check out the live version of the show. The Spawnies will be dropping on February 29th. I'll even show you a sneak peek. We finally got our new trophies in.
Ooh.
The Spawnies will be dropping on the 29th of February at 6 p.m. PST. So come by and check us out on Twitch. The front page of Twitch will be there. And I'll give you a little bit of an exclusive. We will be having this year, it'll be simulcast on IGN as well. So,
wow. Nice.
So, yeah, that's a huge deal for us. It'll be on their Twitch and their YouTube channel. So while we're doing it here on our channel on Twitch, we'll be doing it there as well. They'll be rebroadcasting our stuff live while we do it there, which is a big deal for us. And again, like our show is a lot of fun. I hope folks come by and come and hang out and check it. You know, our viewership numbers have been really good, like over 300K per show. For a baby show out of nowhere is great in terms of our numbers. And this year we have an amazing, a Grammy-nominated artist will be our music performer for the year. We'll talk more about that in February. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I really do have a blast doing it. I think we're doing something very special. Outside of even the conversation around the DEI layers, I think we get a chance to celebrate games in a way that is fun. Feels like, you know, if you feel like you got a chance to understand a little bit more about me through our conversation tonight, that's what the show is. It's a lot of that, and we'll be doing it again over at our friends at Kind of Funny Studios. We'll be doing the show live there again. So thank you again for having me. Thank you again for letting me rock. And anytime you need me, I'm down to come back and the rest of the
Yes,
yeah.
please come back.
Absolutely. Always have a good time talking with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. And like we said, any you in the audience, and God knows we, you know, who were talking about the Game Awards and being like, we could this could be better. We can do this differently. You gotta show up. You gotta when someone's doing something differently, you gotta show up. Put your money where the mouth is. So yeah, stoked to see that.
Dope.
Casey, where can folks find you? What should folks check out?
As usual, all over the internet on social media, you can find me at Sigma Gears 9. I also do a weekly podcast. Latest episode is up on my Twitch, The Sigma Show. Check it out over there. You can listen to it on all your podcast listening services as well. My fiance and I are still going strong with our Friday night wedding fundraiser. We'll be getting married in 2025, and we're doing encouraging fun challenges to add wrinkles into our wedding planning as viewers hit donos. So that's been really fun so far. So far, actually, my son has to dress as Yoshi for our engagement photos. I have to dress as Wario, and they're working towards getting my fiance in a Bowser costume. So that's how that's going.
I like whoever's gonna take these pictures is like, what is going on with this video?
Right, yeah. Right. It's gonna be an all-day thing now. Outside of that, should have some videos and regular streams throughout the week that you guys can check out. I don't think there's any breaks in the schedule this week, so just look forward to all the usual stuff. That's pretty much it.
Heck yeah. Nick?
Yeah, I'm working on my first video for Second Wind, and first video I've edited since 2017 when I did the Divinity Original Sin structure for that documentary. So got some rust to get off my gears here, but coming along good. I think showed Marty and Omar today. They're pretty happy with it. So I'm like, yes, I still know what I'm doing.
The old dog's got a few tricks left in him.
But yeah, make sure to come back tomorrow for a new episode of Semi-Rumble-Matic from Yahtzee. And then Friday's the big day. Friday's the big premiere day of Chronicle, the follow-up to the Stuff of Legends from Frost. So if you liked Stuff of Legends, you will love Chronicle, and I've seen the first episode. It is a fucking good time. So
yeah, it is a great script by Frost and an amazing edit by Jesse Schwab. So
yeah,
check that
out. Just 2 more episodes to go. Adventures 9 until we're at new episodes. 2 more.
Oh,
2 more weeks.
It's so good, y'all.
It's so good.
Soon. Hell
so
yeah.
And then I still got. It's Wednesday. I haven't booked my flight to DC. I need to do that tomorrow morning. So
yeah, you should probably do that.
Yeah, I should probably do that. I got to book GDC flights too.
Gotta do that.
Oh, yeah.
And then speaking of Friday, sorry.
Paul asked for his Javid stuff. Very soon you will have Javid stuff to watch.
Hell yeah. And speaking of Friday at noon Central, we're gonna have a sponsored stream for Star Trek Fleet Command. This free to play Star Trek game that Nick is gonna be playing. He's gonna be co-piloted. Jack Packard, Darren Mooney, 2 resident Trek heads. Darren's first stream with us. First of many streams. Don't worry. If you miss Darren, if you miss weekly Darren chatting about pop culture, that's coming back soon as well. So don't you worry about that. But tune in.
I have missed that, man.
Friday Friday at noon for that. Otherwise, that'll do it for us. For Nick, for Casey, for Eric on the Wheels of Steels, and especially for Kahlief. Thank you guys so much for joining us for Firelink episode number 7. We appreciate all your support and your donos and your patronage and everything, and just being a great rad audience. So thank you guys so much, and have a great night, and we'll see you all soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.